Part 149. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1481. Really, Zhao Mian asked, that's quite an honor. Zhao Mian, I already know the meaning of existence. He was born because of me, and I live in the light, bathe in the sunshine, and enjoy praise. And he lives in darkness, struggling in the quagmire, and burdened with infamy. Zhao Mian continued, however, no matter it is darkness or light, we are all striving for that goal. You alone cannot achieve it. I asked in a deep voice, what is our goal? Zhao Mian looked at me and replied, rebuild the way of heaven and let everything return to the way it was before. Combining the memories I had awakened before and the words of some people, I already understood everything. The initial stage mentioned by Zhao Mian should refer to the moment when he became a god. After the canonization of gods, gods were born, and each god fulfilled his duties and benefited all living beings. But as time went by, the gods gained power, and they began to have evil thoughts and do all kinds of unscrupulous things for their own selfish desires. In my opinion, the so-called war to confer gods is just an excuse for the gods to satisfy their greed. Zhijiao and Chanjiao fight against each other. In the end, it seems that the gods are enthroned and the great perfection is achieved, but in fact it is the common people who suffer. What I have to do is to rebuild the way of heaven and let the gods regain their true intentions. I continued to ask, who is it that seals the gods? This question has troubled me for a long time. Who in this world has this ability and ability? Before, if you ask me this question, I won't give any answer. And now, I can tell you. Actually, no one seals the gods. It is they who seal them. This answer made me even more confused. Zhao Mian explained, I am your evil thoughts. Other gods will also have evil thoughts in their hearts when their power increases. When the evil thoughts are added together, they will exist in the world as entities. I have never seen it, but I know that the entity of the evil thoughts of the gods existed long before the chasm. As long as the gods have evil thoughts, he will exist. I frowned, the evil thoughts of the gods turn into entity? In other words, the evil thoughts of the gods are the same as Zhao Mian, they have their own consciousness and their own thoughts. It is the evil thoughts of the gods that imprison the gods. According to what you say, he can absorb the evil thoughts of all the gods in the world and become stronger. Zhao Mian nodded and replied, that's right. I took a breath, I never thought that there would be such a terrifying existence above the gods. Can you tell me my plan? Zhao Mian replied, yes, but I don't agree with your plan. At the beginning, your plan was to use a relatively gentle way to make the gods change their minds and stop placing too much emphasis on divine power. Later, you broke free from the divine position, escaped from the tomb of the gods, and set an example. However, no one followed you. Since then, you have started your plan of eternal reincarnation. In countless reincarnations, you have sealed the sins caused by the gods in the sky coffin, which is the monsters you saw in the sky coffin. It was you who restored the world's 1,000-year peace. 9 evil stars, Su Tianxian, is the only key to open the tomb of the gods. The gods are looking for it, and you are also looking for it. You are one step ahead of them, you found the 9 evil stars, and used all your strength to seal it. That's why you lost your 5 senses and 4 limbs. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1482. All the mysteries were finally revealed at this moment. If I had asked Zhao Mian before, he would not have told me at all, because I do not have the qualifications. Zhao Mian continued, and the underworld is the stronghold of the gods in the human world. While you are setting up, they are breaking the situation. You will be reincarnated for thousands of lives, and you will be killed by the underworld in almost every life. Zhongque, Wei Zheng are enemies of you because they can't break free from its grip. After hearing this, I was silent for a while and asked, what is its purpose? Zhao Mian shook his head and said, I don't know either, but I speculate, its purpose is to maintain the status quo. The gods are immortal and evil thoughts will always exist, and it will become stronger and stronger because of evil thoughts, until it finally establishes a new rules of heaven and earth. You have to know that it is the condensed evil thoughts and the reconstructed rules of heaven. Do you think it will be good? The existence that makes the gods fear is the thing that the evil thoughts of the gods condense, so it is temporarily called it. Zhao Mian also said that it existed before Hung Jun. Let's put it this way, it is the controller of this world, and its strength has long transcended everything. I looked at Zhao Mian and asked, what is your plan? Open the tomb of the gods and kill the gods. Zhao Mian replied in a hoarse and dull tone. My pupils trembled slightly. Zhao Mian wanted to kill all the gods in this world and fundamentally stop the birth of evil thoughts. My plan is relatively mild. I want the gods to understand their responsibilities and not to be too obsessed with divine power and have evil thoughts. Zhao Mian's plan was very cold and cruel, but it was also the most direct method. No wonder Zhao Mian always said before that he would let me know that everything he did was right. Now it seems that the reason why Zhao Mian chose to be my enemy was because we had different opinions. What needs to be said has been said, and I already have a rough idea in my mind. I pondered for a moment and said to Zhao Mian, I think, you and I can cooperate. Cooperate? Aren't you afraid of me backstabbing you? It's not like I've never done this kind of thing before. Indeed, no one who cooperates with Zhao Mian will end well. You will not. Zhao Mian shrugged and said casually, who knows? I smiled and continued, since you and I have the same goal, only cooperation can achieve it. I have decided that I will face everything next. I don't want to watch me helplessly. People around you get hurt. It's funny to say that you were once my biggest enemy, but now, I want to cooperate with you. As the saying goes, the people who know you best are not your friends, but your enemies. It is precisely because Zhao Mian and I are enemies that I understand his temper and character. Cooperation, of course we can cooperate. You are an indispensable part of my plan. However, after cooperation, will we implement your plan or mine? I replied calmly, you and I will carry out our plans at the same time. If I can't make those gods change their minds, then I will kill the gods. Zhao Mian was stunned, looked at me with a smile, then stretched out his hand and said, then help us have a happy cooperation. I stretched out my hand to shake Zhao Mian's hand and said, it's a pleasure to cooperate. Zhao Mian suddenly asked, what are your plans next? I thought for a while and replied, conquer the next evil stars and go to the tomb of the gods. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1483. Conquering the 9 evil stars is important, but there is one thing that is even more important. What's the matter? Find a memory. A memory? I was slightly startled and asked, whose? Zhangzia, to be precise, he left it to you. Finding this memory is very important to you. Someone also told me before that they wanted me to search for Zhangzia's memory. I asked, where is that memory? I don't know. Zhao Mian shook his head and said, I'm looking for it, and I will tell you as soon as I find it. Later, Zhao Mian and I talked all night long, and I also saw another side of Zhao Mian. The early sun rises slowly, dispelling the darkness. The warm and hopeful sunshine shines on my body, and the warmth relieves my tired body. Zhao Mian slowly stood up and said to me, okay, you and I will be separated for now. Find the place where Zhangzia's memory is, and I will tell you as soon as possible. I nodded. One more thing, you flooded the underworld with the water of the underworld. In a short time, the underworld will not trouble you, and they will be more peaceful. You have enough time to spend time with Su Tianxian. Zhao Mian and I have already agreed to shelve the matter of conquering the 9 evil stars for the time being and search for Zhangzia's memory first. And I also gained a short period of peace. Cherish it. Zhao Mian looked at me and smiled. This is your last chance to get along with her. It starts with the sky coffin and ends with the sky coffin. Once the tombs of the gods are broken, the sky coffin will play its role. At that time, only you can control it. Moreover, your 5 senses and limbs are slowly dissipating, and your ending will not be happy. I stood up with difficulty and said to Zhao Mian, okay, I understand. Zhao Mian is right. My final ending will not be a good one. I will lose all my senses and die badly. Zhao Mian and I parted ways. I dragged my tired body to the road, stopped a car, and headed for Tianfu City. I am not far from Tianfu City, it only takes 3 hours. I learned from Zhao Mian that I had been in a coma for half a month. If Zhao Mian hadn't been by my side, I would have died long ago. At noon, I returned to Tianfu City. Walking on a familiar street, I felt extremely heavy. At this moment, I suddenly noticed a clothing store. This bridal shop has never been opened in my memory. Su Tianxian once told me that the owner of this bridal shop was named Qin and was very mysterious. Soon, I saw the familiar house. I came to the door of Ji Yun Hall, took a deep breath, and knocked on the door. Dong dong dong. A crisp knock on the door sounded. After a while, the door of Ji Yuntang opened. Who? Colorful butterfly stood in front of me, very pretty. She was no longer what she looked like when she was a child, but what she looked like when she grew up. This makes me wonder, why did she choose to grow up? It's me. Kaidi was stunned when she heard my voice. She raised her eyes and looked me up and down. After confirming that it was me, she burst into tears. Lu Su, you are indeed not dead. Cai Dai cried loudly and attracted the others from Ji Yuntang over. I met Huaxiu, Lu Hangxuan, and Xiao He. They just looked at me blankly, unable to say a word, and their eyes were full of tears. I smiled and said, what's there to cry about? Aren't I living a good life? At this time, my eyes suddenly noticed the stairwell on the 2nd floor of Ji Yuntang, and I saw Dao Jianying walking down slowly. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1484. The first thing that caught my eye was a pair of slender, white legs without any trace of fat, followed closely by a shirt-style white gauze shank, which perfectly set off her perfect and slender figure. The slender waist is full of arms, the mountains on the chest are slightly towering, and the jade neck is white and pink. Su Tianxian walked down from the 2nd floor with gentle steps. No matter when and where, Su Tianxian is breathtakingly beautiful. She came to the 1st floor, her steps stagnant, and her beautiful eyes stared at me closely. Gradually, a layer of water mist covered her beautiful eyes. She bit her lips lightly, and her delicate body trembled slightly. I walked towards her step by step. Su Tianxian didn't move, just stood there, looking at me with tears in his eyes. I came to her and said with a smile, I'm back. Su Tianxian didn't say anything, she fell into my arms, held my collar tightly with her jade hands, and started sobbing. She didn't say anything, she just kept crying. Soon, my clothes were wet with tears. Okay, I gently stroked Su Tianxian's back and comforted me softly. Didn't I stand in front of you properly? Stop crying. If you cry, you won't be pretty. Su Tianxian still didn't speak, and hugged me tightly while crying. After a long time, Su Tianxian calmed down. She raised her head and choked out, Xiao Su, I thought I would never see you again in this life. Fool, how can I bear to leave you in this life? Su Tianxian just hugged me tightly, for fear that I would disappear if he let go. Hua Xiu and others stood aside without saying anything to break the peace. After a while, Su Tianqian pulled me to the bedroom. She rummaged through the cabinets and found a few brand new clothes from the wardrobe, then handed them to me and said, "Let's change clothes first." At this moment, I was like a beggar, in rags and haggard. I took the clothes and asked in surprise, "Did you buy it for me?" Su Tianqian replied. I came to the closet and opened the door. Inside was a piece of brand new clothing, shirts, t-shirts, jackets, pajamas, even underwear Su Tianqian had prepared for me. This warms my heart. I didn't hesitate at all and started to take off my clothes in front of Su Tianqian. When Su Tianqian saw this, her pretty face turned slightly red and she turned around hurriedly. Seeing her like this, I couldn't help but shake my head and smile bitterly. After changing clothes, Su Tianqian and I returned to the lobby on the first floor. Su Tianqian asked about what happened next, and I replied, "After I sent you away, I crushed the water-suppressing beads and jumped into the sea of underworld. Later, I was rescued by Xiang Yi. After that, I came back. I concealed my cooperation with Zhao Mian." Everyone present had a grudge against Zhao Mian, and Su Tianqian was no exception. If they knew that I was cooperating with Zhao Mian, they would definitely get to the bottom of it. I didn't want to tell them about it. Hearing that Xiang Yi was dying to save me, and his soul dispersed, everyone's face showed complicated emotions. Su Tianqian said from the side, "Actually, I have long known that Xiang Yi was sent by Emperor Fengdu, but I didn't think he would hurt you, so I didn't tell you about it. But, I didn't expect that he would let you fall into such a desperate situation. It was my negligence." Su Tianxuan's face was filled with self-blame. I waved my hand and said, "It's okay. No matter how the process is, the ending is good, it's just." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1485. I didn't go on, because everyone present knew the meaning of my words. I asked in a hoarse voice, "Where is Fengluan?" Su Tianqian replied, "Taken away by Longji." I was slightly startled, stood up suddenly, and asked, "When did it happen?" 3 days ago. Before, Longji said that she was going to Yaokai to pick up Su Tianqian for me. She would come back after everything was resolved. I don't know why, but my heart felt empty. I didn't even see Miao Fengluan for the last time. Did she say anything, Longji? Su Tianqian replied softly, "She told me to tell you, don't worry, she will save Miao Fengluan, it's just a matter of time." I nodded and prayed in my heart that Longji would definitely revive Miao Fengluan. Su Tianqian glanced at the time and asked softly, "Xiao Su, I'll cook for you." "Ah," I looked at Su Tianqian in confusion and asked, "When did you learn to cook?" Su Tianqian replied casually, "I learned it recently." Kaidi put her mouth to my ear and whispered, "Lu Su, let me tell you secretly, Sister Tianqian learned it specially for you." I looked at Su Tianqian blankly. In the past, I cooked for her, but now, she is learning to cook for me. This makes my heart warm. I stood up and said, "I'll do it." Su Tianqian shook his head slightly and said, "You should have a good rest, just in time to try my skills." Without waiting for me to say anything else, Su Tianqian went to the kitchen. I sat back on the 8 Immortals chair, looked at Cai Dai, and asked, "Didn't you say you don't want to grow up? Why now?" Kaidi curled her lips and said, "I just want to go to the internet cafe for convenience." If you say a child goes to the internet cafe, who will let him in? I was speechless for a moment. This girl still can't get rid of her internet addiction. Xiao He curled his lips and said, "Boss, don't listen to her nonsense. In the past half-month, she..." Before she could finish her words, Cai Dai sternly scolded her, "Shut up. Are you in need of a spanking again?" Xiao He quickly closed his mouth and shrank his neck. Cai Dai snorted, turned around and walked towards the second floor. Hua Xiu looked at Cai Dai's leaving figure and sighed helplessly. Brother, actually, Cai Dai is lying to you. Lied to me? I looked at Hua Xiu in confusion. Hua Xiu explained, since returning from the underworld, Cai Dai has been depressed and always alone in a daze. One morning, she suddenly told me that she didn't want to be a child anymore, she wanted to grow up. If she had matured a bit at that time, you wouldn't have to suffer so much. I lowered my head and remained silent. Kaidi didn't want to grow up before because of my protection, but now, she wants to protect me. Brother, what are you going to do next? Hua Xiu asked suddenly. I replied, take a rest. There won't be any action in the underworld for the time being. I just want to take advantage of this time to accompany you. Hua Xiu felt happy and asked, is it true? Of course. I laughed. Hua Xiu suddenly thought of something, leaned down and whispered in my ear, brother, I feel that Sister Tianqian is a bit weird. I frowned and asked, what's wrong? Hua Xiu continued, didn't you notice? Sister Tianqian has white hair, and she suddenly had a nosebleed last time, and sometimes she was in a trance, as if she had lost her soul. I suspect that Sister Tianqian is worried about you. Ever since she left the underworld, Sister Tianqian has been terribly quiet. Please spend this time with her. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1486. White hair. I was slightly startled, and I clearly remembered that I had just left home, and because of the 9 evil stars, Su Tianqian cast the 8-character blood evil on me. At that time, as long as I used the power of the 9 evil stars, Su Tianqian would be counterattacked. I remember this incident very clearly. One time, in order to save my life, I unscrupulously used the power of the 9 evil stars to cause Su Tianqian to have sexual intercourse. But now that the blood evil has been resolved, why does Su Tianqian have silver hair again? Could it be that you are really lovesick and worried about me too much? Ever since Su Tianqian came back from the underworld, I have always felt that she was hiding something from me. When I asked, she wouldn't tell me. Su Tianqian is good at everything, but he just refuses to tell me some things. This was the case before, and it is the same now. I sighed secretly in my heart and said to Hua Xiu, sister, don't worry, since I'm back this time, I will stay with her and you. I will not leave Tianfu City until Zhao Mian finds the location of Zhang Ziya's disciples. I cherish this rare peace because I don't know if this kind of time will happen again. I don't have much time. Although Miao Fengluan tried his best to delay the dissipation of my limbs and 5 senses, but after all, it was a delay, it was only a matter of time before the 5 senses and my limbs dissipated. Hua Xiu nodded and said with a smile, then you must accompany me well. Of course. Soon, the time came to evening, and Su Tianqian cooked a large table of dishes. I was sitting at the dining table, looking at the delicious food in front of me, and my mouth was watering unconsciously. No wonder Su Tianqian said in his diary that the food I cooked was not very delicious. Now it seems that I am somewhat adept at what I do. I, Su Tianqian, Hua Xiu, Cai Dai, and Xiao He are sitting around the table. Su Tianqian picked up the chopsticks, picked out a piece of meat for me, put it in my bowl, and said, Xiao Su, try it. I don't know if what I cook is to your liking. I nodded, picked up the meat in the bowl, and put it in my mouth. Su Tianxuan's eyes were unblinking, looking at me expectantly, like a kindergarten kid eager to be praised. How about it? Su Tianqian asked slightly nervously. Tasty. Joy slowly crept onto Su Tianxuan's eyebrows. I changed the subject and said, but. Su Tianxian asked quickly. I looked at her and said with a smile, your food is so delicious, I'm afraid I'll get used to it and won't be able to eat anything in the future. The nervous look in Su Tianxuan's eyes slowly dissipated. The corners of her mouth raised slightly and she said to me, if you like to eat it, I will cook it for you for the rest of my life. No, no, no. I waved my hand, stretched out my hand, and gently held Su Tianxuan's jade hand. She stiffened, glanced at Huaxiu and the others, and a hint of shyness flashed in her eyes. I can't bear to let you cook all the time. As soon as these words came out, Xiao He let out a long hiss. Hey! So disgusting. Cai Dai also echoed, that's right. That's right. Lu Su, you seem to be quite honest on weekdays. Are you so good at talking about love? I got goosebumps when I heard it. I rolled my eyes and said, eat. Eat. Then we started eating dinner with chopsticks. Looking at such a warm picture, I felt a little dazed. Isn't this the scene I have been pursuing? Why is it happening now? Why am I so uneasy? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1487. After thinking for a while, I probably got it. Because everything in front of me is only temporary, and I will lose it one day. If, after I solve all the problems, I can still be alive, then, the uneasiness in my heart will disappear without a trace. After eating, Su Tianxian and I washed the dishes together in the kitchen. By the way, where did Su Fu go? Su Tianxian replied, he has his own things to do, and I don't know what exactly he is doing. Su Fu's physical decay has been resolved. Does he have something to do? What's going on? Although I was curious, I didn't think too much about this matter. Actually, I'm still a little worried about the female slave. It's been half a month. Hasn't she come out of the coffin yet? I looked at Su Tianxian and found that there were indeed a few silver strands in her dark and rich hair, which was particularly eye-catching. I stretched out my hand, grabbed the silver thread, and asked, why do you have gray hair? Su Tianxian was startled, looked at me, and replied, I don't know, I guess it's because I'm worried, although you have returned to me now, my spirit is still tense. I'm really afraid that one day you will leave suddenly without saying a word. Su Tianxian lowered his eyes when he said this, and whispered as if he was talking in sleep. I turned around, reached out my hand, grabbed her soft and boneless waist, and pulled her in front of me. Su Tianxian struggled a few times with a red face, but when he couldn't break free, he could only lean into my arms. I asked, is there anywhere you want to go? I'll accompany you. Su Tianxian thought for a while and replied, I want to take a stroll in Tianfu City. There are many places to visit in Tianfu City, so I just took this opportunity to go with Su Tianxian. Okay, I'll take you there in the next 2 days. Su Tianxian hummed softly. I stared at her. Feeling my gaze, Su Tianxian slowly raised his head and asked doubtfully, why are you looking at me like that? I put my mouth to her ear and whispered something. After Su Tianxian heard this, her pretty face turned red. She whispered, it's not okay, Huaxiu and the others are outside. If they are discovered. I smiled and said, what are you afraid of? Isn't it just a kiss? Don't you want to? Me? Su Tianxian raised her pretty face, gave me a fierce look, and said, do you think I'm the same as you? My mind is full of dirty thoughts. Really? Since you don't want to, I won't force you. With that said, I will let go of Su Tianxian. But Su Tianxian hugged me tightly. I looked at her with a smile and said nothing. Su Tianxuan's blushing face and shy look made people like her. Xiao Su, you are getting worse and worse, so you know how to bully me. I still didn't speak. Su Tianxian bit her lips lightly, as if she had made a decision. She closed her eyes, and her long eyelashes floated up and down like butterfly wings. She gently pressed her lips against mine, dabbed the water, and then blushed. "Push me away." I took him into my arms again, leaned over, and kissed him. We hug each other tightly and kiss, which is the best way to express our thoughts. At this moment, the kitchen door was pushed open with a creak, and Cai Dai covered her belly and said, "Oh, I didn't eat enough tonight, let's get some food." Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1488. When I heard Cai Dai's voice, my movements froze. Before I could react, I felt someone pinched my waist hard. It hurt me and I quickly let go of Su Tianxian. Su Tianxian turned away, her ears were red and hot. I looked at Cai Dai, and saw Cai Dai still stunned in place after being struck by lightning. We looked at each other for a long time. Cai Dai's throat squirmed, then she turned around stiffly and murmured, "Huh? That's weird. You were hungry just now. Why are you full now? I guess the dog food is full, that must be it." After saying that, Cai Dai left as if fleeing, not forgetting to close the door before leaving. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly. This girl is as quirky as ever. What does it mean to be full of dog food? I looked at Su Tianxian and saw that her pretty face was flushed, as if she was drunk, and the shame between her eyebrows was as charming as a begonia emerging from the water. "Tianxian, should we continue?" After hearing my words, Su Tianxian raised his head suddenly, glared at me fiercely, and complained, "It's all your fault. I was always shy. Now I'm seen again." As he said that, Su Tianxian was about to leave angrily, but when he passed by me, he suddenly stopped. I looked at her with confusion and embarrassment, and saw her lift her foot and step on my instep hard. I screamed in pain, and she left without looking back. I have a headache. It seems that I have to find a new game for Cai Dai to indulge her in, so as not to become a light bulb and disturb the world between Su Tianxian and me. Ever since Cai Dai caught me making out with Su Tianxian locked herself in the room and wouldn't come out. I was lying on the bed, originally thinking of having a heart-to-heart talk with Su Tianxian, but Su Tianxian didn't come to see me at all. I was wondering if I should sneak into her room. Ever since Su Tianxian and I separated in Yaokai, although I didn't say that I missed her, the longing for her in my heart had already gathered into a river, and I had to vent it out. Thinking of this, I stood up and quietly left the room. I first listened to the sounds of Cai Dai sleeping in the room. The two of them were already asleep. I came to Su Tianxian's bedroom and suddenly found that the door was ajar. I was slightly startled. Could it be that Su Tianxian knew that I would come back to see her at night? "So you left the door specially for me?" Thinking of this, I shook my head and smiled bitterly. She clearly missed me, but I was too shy to speak. I was lucky that I had the idea of visiting the boudoir at night. I gently opened the door. The bedroom was very dim, with only a small night light emitting a dim and warm light. Su Tianxian was sitting beside the bed. She was sitting by the bed wearing a nightgown. The nightgown was very loose, but it fit perfectly on Su Tianxian's body, highlighting her exquisite figure to the fullest. The warm dim light shines on her beautiful face, adding a touch of tenderness to it. When I came to her, Su Tianxian asked coldly with a straight face, "Why are you here? Get out." I smiled and sat next to her. Su Tianxian moved to one side, and I quickly moved forward, finally pushing Su Tianxian into the corner. She had no way to retreat. She raised her eyes and looked at me and asked, "Xiao Su, I noticed that you are becoming more and more bold. You are actually able to break into my boudoir at night. Isn't it the door you left for me?" A look of panic flashed in Su Tianxian's beautiful eyes, and she hesitated and said, "Nonsense, I forgot to turn it off. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1489. Su Tianqian has always wanted a child. In fact, I think so too. Because I don't have much time. The road ahead is dark and confusing for me. I don't know if I can survive in the end. If I don't survive, then, I have a child to accompany Su Tianqian. She can't be too lonely either. Su Tianqian leaned tightly in my arms, with a look of happiness on his face. Seeing her like this, I put all the unpleasantness behind me and wanted to enjoy the moment, the only peaceful time I had with her. Okay, don't think too much, I will accompany you well these days, I said to Su Tianqian. Su Tianqian raised his eyes, looked at me with some confusion, and asked, Xiao Su, what exactly did you experience in the sky coffin? Why do I feel like you have changed as a different person? You want to know? I asked rhetorically. Su Tianqian nodded and said, I think so. I told Su Tianqian everything that happened in the sky coffin, including everything I saw in the dream. However, I concealed the fact that I used my 5 senses and limbs to repair the coffin. After hearing this, Su Tianqian asked, then what are you going to do next? I replied, I don't know, but I think I still need to conquer the remaining 9 evil stars. Only in this way can I take the initiative and not be led by the gods. Su Tianqian sat up, stretched out his hand, and did some calculations. Then his brows furrowed and tightened. Then he looked at me and said, Xiao Su, I found that I can't calculate what happened next to you. Su Tianqian is very good at divination. In the past, she could always know what I was about to encounter in advance. Why is this happening? I asked doubtfully. Su Tianqian shook his head and replied, I don't know either. Although your destiny is special, I could see some of it before, but now, your destiny and luck are shrouded in a layer of black mist. No matter what I do, no matter what method you use, you can't see through it. I smiled and said, since I can't see through it, I won't look at it. Once it's come, make peace with it. All you have to do now is stay with me. Good. Tonight, Su Tianqian and I fell asleep hugging each other, talking quietly about the two of us. Before dawn, I felt someone poking my shoulder. I opened my eyes in confusion, and what came into view was Su Tianxian's pretty face. Xiao Su, please go back to your bedroom quickly, wait until Cai die and the others wake up. I sat up in a daze and hugged Su Tianqian gently. The refreshing fragrance on her body made me a little intoxicated. Can you not leave, anyway, they also know our relationship. Su Tianqian bit her lips lightly, with a look of hesitation on her face. After a while, she hummed softly at me and said, if you don't want to leave, then don't leave. From beginning to end, Su Tianqian was tolerant of me in every possible way. How could I have such a woman? Okay, you go to bed first, I'll call you after I've made dinner. Su Tianqian said softly. I slept for a while and then woke up. I walked towards the kitchen. Su Tianqian was busy in the kitchen. I looked a little distressed, so I stepped forward to help. Just after making breakfast and leaving the kitchen, I saw Kati sitting on the rocking chair in the hall on the first floor, gritting her teeth and looking at the screen of her phone, as if she wanted to swallow it. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1490. Nadia, what's wrong with you? Are you so angry so early in the morning? Kaidi turned her head faintly, and when I saw her face, I was stunned on the spot. I saw Cai Dai's face looking haggard, with heavy dark circles under her eyes, and she looked like she had been up all night. Lusu. You judge. Is this author going too far? Author. Too much. I became more and more confused. She raised her phone and let me take a look. On the screen was a chat group named Youth Evening News Book Club Group. What's going on? Is this normal? Cai Dai said angrily, this author. Updates are so slow. I went to him to argue, he didn't reply to me. It's over, this girl has completely become an internet-addicted teenager, watching TV series, playing games, reading novels. Luciu, I'll tell you the chat group number, and you can scold him for me. Just as I was about to wave my hand, I heard Cai Dai say, the number is 8533056665. I rolled my eyes and said, why are you still bothering me about such a trivial matter? I don't care. Cody stood up suddenly, took out the mobile phone from my pocket, opened Penguin, and added it. The number turned out to be real. Since you are ignoring me, then I will change my account and continue to harass you. I shook my head helplessly and smiled bitterly. I didn't care about Cai Dai and let her figure it out on her own. While eating, I said to everyone, I will go out to play with you Sister Tianqian later. You guys stay at home. Hua Xiu hummed, and Cai Dai raised her head, with little stars twinkling in her eyes, and asked, can I go? Cannot. I refused. Kadi wanted to argue with me, but Hua Xiu covered her mouth. You. Hua Xiu whispered a few words into Cai Dai's ear. Cai Dai fell silent and looked at me and Su Tianqian with ambiguous eyes. Eat. Eat. I hurriedly urged to eat. After eating, Su Tianqian returned to the room, and a moment later, Su Tianqian walked out. Her appearance stunned everyone in Jiyuntang. Su Tianqian is wearing a frosty white high-waisted long-sleeved dress. The long skirt is like an unfolding lotus, elegant, holy and full of fairy spirit. Her long black hair, draped casually on her shoulders, formed a sharp contrast with her fair and smooth jade shoulders, which was breathtaking. Come to think of it, there is nothing more beautiful in the world than this. It was obvious that Su Tianqian had dressed up carefully. When Hua Xiu and Cai Dai saw this, they praised him one after another. Sister Tianqian, you are so beautiful. That's it? That's it? Sister Tianqian. You are so beautiful. Su Tianqian smiled lightly, this smile was enough to make all the flowers pale and the sun and moon dim. Well enough. Su Tianqian replied. I stepped forward and took Su Tianxuan's hand, and said to Cai Dai and Hua Xiu, you just stay at home. If we don't come back at night, you don't have to wait for us. Hua Xiu and Cai Dai agreed. Afterwards, Su Tianqian and I left Jiyuntang. I asked, Tianqian, where are we going? This is my first date with Su Tianqian. I have made careful plans, but I don't know where to start. Su Tianqian thought for a while and replied, Xiao Su, do you want us to go to your house, to pay homage to your parents? I was slightly startled, then nodded to Su Tianqian and said with a smile, okay. Su Tianqian had a car, and it was a white Porsche. I drove the Porsche to the village.